Good evening. This is CTV News for Tuesday, December 13th. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Glad to have you with us this evening. Well, a home on a quiet dead-end street in Lanham is the target of a home invasion. The crooks came dressed in black and they were bearing arms. Byron Scott has the story.
This is where the incident happened at around 1 o'clock this morning. Police say that about 3 to 5 people wearing black clothing and hoodies and bearing arms made their way inside the home.
Our understanding is that a number of individuals approached the home.
The crime happened at 9404 Franklin Avenue in Lanham. You can still see the shoe marks and the busted lock on the door. Investigators say the crooks identified themselves as police officers.
They said this, but the idea was to intimidate. I want to reassure our community that if police officers are taking action, they'll be clearly identified as police officers. You'll see the word police. You'll see badges, you'll see emergency vehicles with red and blue lights. These individuals were attired simply in black clothing, carrying weapons. My understanding is one of them had a crowbar.
We tried to speak with this man as he was entering the home, but he didn't want to talk about the crime that police are calling a targeted hit.
But the individual that they were targeting was not in the residence at that time. So the victims there, uninjured, were innocent people.
Investigators say the criminals made off with several items before fleeing.
This has to do with marijuana, and from that we'll let this proceed, but that individual that they were seeking is something to do with the marijuana trade, is our understanding.
So far, there have been no arrests. Anyone with any information is asked to call police. In Lanham, Byron Scott, CTV News.
And you can reach Crime Solvers at 1-866-411-TIPS.
It is the kind of story that is hard to hear about. An animal has been treated cruelly and left alone. That is the case for a 6-month-old domestic long-haired kitten. We went to the Greenbelt Animal Shelter to get the details.
After being left for dead, this 6-month-old kitten is recovering.
My first initial thought was we got to hurry up and get the cat out of there because I don't know how long she's been in there.
Howard Stanback with the Greenbelt Animal Shelter says they were called to this apartment complex in the 6100 block of Spring Hill Lane on Friday about her being stuck in a storage room. When they arrived, they found the kitten in a terrible condition.
Once we got there, we heard the cat from outside, and we looked through the window and we noticed that the cat had an electrical cord wrapped around its neck about 6 or 7 times. And then an electrical cord was plugged into the wall, so the cat was stuck and unable to move.
Like he says, unable to move. You see the cat in these pictures crouching in the corner. She was also covered with feces and urine. Stanback believes she'd been in the room for nearly a week before they found her.
So she's a little too scared. When we picked her up, she was covered in fleas. She was covered in urine and feces, so we cleaned her up. But right now she's doing okay. She's expected to go back to the vet next week to get spayed.
Now the big question is, who abused this animal and why?
Everyone that we talked to, they didn't know where the cat came from that was in the building, so we didn't have any luck with going door to door with that.
Whoever is responsible for the abuse could face felony animal cruelty charges. The cat will be available for adoption next week. You can call Animal Control if you're interested in her or know anything about this incident. The number right there on your screen, 301-474-6124.
A law enforcement officer is today on the other side of the law. Prince George's County Sheriff Sergeant Keenan Conley is facing charges of assault, sex offense, and false imprisonment charges. He surrendered to authorities on Monday. Conley has been placed on administrative duty and has had his law enforcement powers suspended as the investigation continues.
Well, turning to politics, Donald Trump announces his pick for Secretary of State. The president-elect has chosen ExxonMobil CEO Rex Tillerson. The 64-year-old lacks formal knowledge of internal affairs, but has built close relationships with many world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin. Senator-elect Chris Van Hollen calls it an unusual choice.
He has no foreign policy experience. Yes, as a CEO of a company, he's traveled around the world for ExxonMobil business. But the Senate will have an opportunity to fully vet him, to ask him a lot of questions, and we will make a final determination on this nomination later on. I mean, there have been a whole slew of nominations that have come forward recently, including the head of the EPA, who's a person who's currently suing the EPA, who's a climate denier. I mean, there's an example of someone who just doesn't belong in that position. I mean, if you want to put somebody...
A multimillionaire, Tillerson continues a trend in Trump's emerging cabinet, which is mostly made up of corporate titans and wealthy Wall Street players. His nomination is expected to face a heated Senate confirmation battle.
Well, it's official. Montgomery County delivered the most votes for presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. The Maryland State Board of Elections completed its statewide vote canvass last Friday. It found Montgomery County had about 14,000 more votes for Clinton than the number 2 jurisdiction, Prince George's. The former Secretary of State won the popular vote nationwide but lost the Electoral College to now President-elect Donald Trump. Barring any turn of events, Clinton is expected to lose 306 to 232 to Trump when the Electoral College meets December 19th. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Denise Douglas. Coming